There were only a few days before Valentine's Day, and yet no one has dared to ask you to be their Valentine. You weren't the only one to celebrate this kind of thing, but it did make you a bit upset that people didn't want to be your Valentine. You obviously just ignored it since it wasn't a big deal, but there was still that small part of you that felt upset. Maybe because you really wanted your crush to ask you out.
Traveler?
You suddenly heard a familiar voice. You turned your head to see none other than Sero, the guy you were just thinking about.
Hey, wanna head to my room and study?
He asked with his usual smile. You smiled back and nodded before packing your things as you both left the classroom. You got a glimpse of Mina giving you a thumbs up while having a big grin on her face. And ignored her. You figured she only did that because you were walking with Sero and, well, Valentine's Day was coming up. You both walked to the dorms, deciding to change in your own separate dorm rooms before joining Sero in his. When you were done, you grabbed your textbooks and walked towards his room. I think I need to ask him to be my Valentine myself, you sighed, mumbling to yourself as you thought of the countless possibilities of asking him, hoping no one else would just straight up let him know how you felt. When you finally reached his dorm, you knocked on the door. It felt like forever waiting there for him to open, but when he did, you were met with his dark eyes and a toothy grin. He let you in and you sat down on the floor near the small table he had, placing your textbooks on his desk, then looking up at him to see him sit down on the opposite side. Time passed in what felt like forever while the both of you studied and helped each other with the view of today's lessons. You normally would take a break when someone interrupted your study, but this time neither of you did. You thought it was just you being stressed about Valentine's Day, that it felt like minutes were hours. But when you checked the time on your phone, you realized the two of you have only been studying for 3 hours straight.
What the
You stared at your phone, shocked.
What's wrong?
Sero asked. You turned your phone to show him the time, and you've seen his expression went from confused to shocked himself. He leaned back and sighed.
Yeah, now that makes so much sense why my hand hurts so much.
It was a bit strange. Normally people would interrupt you two every hour, or even every half hour. To not get interrupted at all was just odd.
You think something big is happening and no one's come here to tell us?
He asked. You shook your head, disbelieving him. No, I don't think so. The only big events you could think of is people watching movies in the Class 1B dorm rooms tonight, or people spending time with their Valentines. But that was only ever going to happen on Valentine's Day next week.
Well, I'm starving,
motioned Sero as he stretched his arms.
Want to head downstairs and get something to eat?
You nodded in agreement. As you decided to take the stairs, on the way, the both of you noticed that no one was in the dorms at all. Even when you reached the common room, there wasn't a single person in sight. This is weird. Where is everyone? You asked, confused, as you walked over to the couch.
Maybe there was something happening and we forgot.
You waltzed back to him, noticing that he started making sandwiches in the kitchen for the both of you. Taking a stool from the counter, you decided to sit and watch, noticing all the condiments he decided to bring out for such a treat.
Well, Kaminari was acting a bit strange today.
You mean more than usual? Sero nodded.
Yeah, as if there was something going to happen. Maybe I forgot. I could be wrong. I mean, it's Kaminari I'm on about.
You hummed in agreement. checking your phone to notice the time, but also noticing the date. "Oh, tomorrow it's Shoji's birthday!" You gasped, remembering you still didn't have a gift for him.
"No, it isn't. It's next week."
Sero corrected as he finished the sandwiches, sliding one towards you. Taking it from him, you took a bite, still considering his suggestion. "No. It's tomorrow, see?" You showed him the date on your phone. "His birthday's on the 15th, you told him. His eyes widened and you could see a blush creep onto his face before he covered it with his hands. You looked at him, slightly confused of such a reaction.
Traveler, you do know Shoji's birthday is right after Valentine's Day, right?"
That's when it hit you. Everything that had happened today made so much sense. Why no one was in the dorms, why Mina gave you a thumbs up earlier, and why Kaminari was apparently acting strange lately, according to Sero. But you as well realized another thing. You stood up from your seat and started looking around the kitchen for the chocolate muffins you and Sato were planning to make for everyone. As you did, Sero watched you with a confused look on his face.
What are you doing?"
he asked, slightly nervous. "You know how Sato and I agreed to make chocolates for everyone in the hero course from the recipe my mum gave me?" You asked while you opened the cupboard, searching for the goods. Sero nodded before realizing that you were trying to reach for the self-raising flour on the top shelf.
"Well, we never ended up making them, so..."
You tried to push it off from the top shelf to grab it, but before you knew it, you noticed in the corner of your eye the big bag of flour falling towards you. You shut your eyes, waiting for impact, but felt nothing. Only the soft powder showering around you. It was then you noticed that Sero stood over you, covered in flour, but has caught it in his hands. You didn't hear him move at all.
"Sorry."
You apologized. Sero laid the bag of flour on the counter, next to the other ingredients you were pulling out. There wasn't much left in the bag, however.
"You know, now that I'm like this, I might as well help you out,"
he said with a sigh, but a hint in his voice that he didn't really have much to do anyhow. "You sure? Are you sure you don't want to wash all that flour off first?" He shook his head in disagreement, watching the flour actually shower off of his body, smiling with a toothy grin.
"Yeah, I'm probably gonna get dirty anyway, so what's the point in taking a shower twice?"
he said as he took an apron out from the cupboard. The two of you spent the rest of the day making those chocolate muffins from your recipe, and by the time the two of you were done, Sero then took a shower. The rest of your classmates eventually showed up in the common room area, talking about how they've watched 2 movies and played video games the whole day, in Kaminari's room. It clicked to make sense why things like this turned out the way they did, but despite the fact you missed out on all of the fun, you at least got to spend some time with Sero. Perhaps you may find the courage to ask him to be your Valentine.